awesome topic. Glad to have you here. Let's give you a round of applause.
Thank you. We're really pressed for time with 15 minutes, as we say. Ready Lightning, Guardians of the Net, and previous ARCOG commander. Been with Battelle for almost 2 decades, and a wide variety of military and DHS experience. So today we're going to be talking about cyber physical systems, specifically to counter UAS systems. And this is the work that we've been doing. Just as full disclosure, this briefing has gone through DHS headquarters, Department of Public Affairs, export controls. It's strictly unclassified. And we're going to go ahead and talk about the testing process and reports and artifacts. So as you know, we offer a wide, full spectrum analysis from silicone to physical systems, providing integrity verification. And we identify the vulnerabilities and verify them. And we categorize risk based on mission impact. And we provide stakeholder feedback through our government PM. And our reports support the system authorization process and support acquisition decisions. We work with the vendors to remediate vulnerabilities as directed by the government PM. And we do both US systems and foreign systems, both friendly and adversarial. Technical testing. This is our overall process. The most important piece that very few vendors do is the cyber physical piece, the hardware analysis. So we look at the hardware, your traditional compliance, which is your operating system and application STIG checks. We take a deep dive into software and firmware applications analysis. We usually have been very successful 99% of the time with requesting the source code. It's their key intellectual property. We guard it. We have a special process for that. If we have a situation where they don't provide it, we can easily download the executables and reverse engineer it. And that's what we do. We do full network packet capture analysis, both wired and wireless. We do vulnerability scanning of the software and firmware, primarily to look at the patching levels. We do penetration testing. If there's a cloud environment, we do the cloud environment. We do mobile device application testing as appropriate if the solution does have a mobile piece to it. And then we have non-attributable open source intelligence. So we use that to look at what we find, to do research on the vendors and the principal corporate leadership. Okay. So for hardware testing, we use rakes. Rakes is a non-destructive printed circuit board technology. You can look it up. It is proprietary technology, but there are videos on the internet that you can look it up under RAICS. Okay, we have specifically designed cameras. We perform 6 different types of scans, and we produce an automated hardware bill of materials. And then we research that hardware bill of materials and discover any vulnerabilities. We also have the ability to use X-ray and electronic microscopes. We have some of the few electronic microscope capabilities outside of your big fabs and microelectronics manufacturers outside of like the Intels, et cetera, or academic environments. So one of those microscopes and the facility is about $5 million in cost and investment. This is your traditional operating system and application compliance testing. We prefer to use SCAP. You can do it through Nessus or any of your other vulnerability assessment tools, and we use the STIG viewer. We do both the automated and any manual checks as required. Software and firmware analysis. We use OpenText Fortify to do your traditional SAS. We do manual inspection for newer code, Rust, and Rust is one of the areas where the tool vendors unfortunately do not have an automated solution to date. We use Anchor SIF for generating our software bill of materials. We also have a Battelle tool as well. And obviously using the OWASP tool, and we identify and reduce risk in the supply chain. Network packet capture. So we have RF containment chambers at several of our facilities. They're quite large, as you can see here. And we use your standard techniques to analyze both the RF and the wired traffic. Your traditional tools, your Nmap, your Wireshark. We have a few other tools not listed here. And for USB protocol analyzers, we do tap, man-in-the-middle techniques to capture some of that traffic if a system has some sort of update capability via USB. Vulnerability scanning, we use your traditional Nessus vulnerability scanning. You can think of it as ACAS for DoD. In the nasal language plugins, as of last November, where there's 198,000 plugins, covers over 80,000 CVEs and 30,000 bug track IDs. And we take all this information and we have our penetration testing team test the equipment. So we have specifically developed and approved rules of engagement. We develop a list of potential effective exploits. We conduct advanced system scanning to generate some additional exploits and vulnerabilities not identified in the previous steps. And then we attempt, very important, non-destructive exploitation using a suite of 25 testing tools from trustworthy sources and document successful or unsuccessful exploits against the system. And if we do gain access, which we have done multiple times, unfortunately, we document the exploits and recommend remediation in the penetration testing report. Cloud environment analysis, very important. We are not doing the network scanning piece. We're not going to, push the edge with the major cloud service providers, but we do internal testing from a server that we set up in conjunction with a vendor, and we take a look at your traditional SCAP and STIG compliance, as well as vulnerability scanning from the inside of the cloud environment. Mobile app testing, we conduct static analysis using standard tools. There's a list of tools over there to the right, and we identify also the permissions that come with the app, and we conduct traffic analysis to identify the use of encryption and types of encryption and identify source and destination IP addresses. Very important. You don't want your traffic going overseas when you don't realize that. Our open source intelligence, we have a tailored intelligence analytics group. They conduct our OSINT. They augment and guide actions on hardware, software, and firmware testing. And they conduct, as I said, background investigation on key vendor personnel, profiles of investors in the company, hardware and software vulnerability analysis. We use a special tool called PAIR, pseudonymous encrypted asynchronous routing. And the key part is these are personnel with language skills, but they're not translators. They are engineers and scientists who are fluent in these foreign languages and many more. So we have the ability to do a deep dive technical analysis of not only English literature and open source materials, but in those languages. Okay, the test process, we prepare in advance. All our personnel have the required background investigations. They have clearance and credentials to the systems. We do coordination with the vendor, very important. I've heard numerous topics about communication and how important that is. You need to work collaboratively with the vendors as you assess their technologies. We collect the test inputs, do a formal test plan, a test readiness review. We conduct the testing. We have initial reports. There's a government version and there's a vendor version. Okay, not all the risk assessment information is provided to the vendor. That's kept on the government level. And then the vendor has an opportunity to remediate, and we retest, and there's final test reports, a final government version and a final vendor version. Okay, these are just a summary of the testing again, and OSINT supports that. In terms of the report, we use your traditional DoD, which DHS uses as well, 5x5 risk matrix. We give risk ratings in all the different areas. We identify the vulnerabilities. There's a risk matrix. We have the assessment results. And then as you take a look at each one of the areas that we assess, particularly your operating system and application compliance, your software and firmware, your network packet capture, all those areas have MITRE ATT&CK. They have the DHS 4300 Alpha. They have the NIST 853 Rev 5, and they have MITRE ATT&CK. So it's very, very easy to do a poem, and that's the whole goal, is this report assists DHS component or other government agencies, to include directly the Department of Justice, the FBI, all the civilian agencies, and they are also shared to DoD and the Five Eye partners, as well as the intelligence community. So it allows you to make a decision on what sort of risk you want to assume and to have those poems in place. Poems are plan of action and milestones. These are the artifacts, some more artifacts here in terms of what we produce. And that is it. Did I finish on time? I got 3 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, I'd feel free to ask them. I'll gladly answer them, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. And Battelle is, go ahead, Josh.
Michael, great presentation. Real quick, are you guys using the same process in DoD against the mission assurance guidelines for mission relevant terrain cyber and key terrain cyber?
So in terms of mission assurance, that's more, and those guidelines are more of a DoD focus. This is a DHS focus. So
my question was really, the process would work for both. And I was just curious if you're applying it in that space as well.
not currently, but we'd love to talk to you about that if you're interested in collaborating in those areas.
Awesome. Let's give Michael a round of applause.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak.